The Joe Rogan Experience.
There's no doubt that we live in complex ecosystems, and we do not like the idea of them. We've developed these bizarre establishments called cities. And in these cities, we have removed ourselves from nature. And, if you go to the mountains of Colorado, people are well aware of mountain lions. They're well aware of bears. They have to lock their garbage up. They have they have like a neighborhood email list where they talk about like bears broke into this guy's car and everybody's on the lookout. But they understand they're living in this system. They're living in this ecosystem. Yeah. Most people in the United States that live in urban areas have no idea that they're in an ecosystem because we've essentially done some very bizarre stuff and isolated ourselves from nature, which is one of the reasons why we have this strange idea that we are not animals and that we are not a part of nature. Yeah. It's just weird. We're fucking weird. We're weird in our justifications. We're weird in what we allow ourselves to do.
Yeah, that's back to the chimpanzees. That was one of the things that I just couldn't ever, I couldn't ever connect with this woman, Tanya, that kept this chimp and tried to explain to her, that we are chimps, effectively. And, and she just, took the page out of, Genesis, where she just said, I'm not, we're not animals. This is an animal and I can own it like property. Anyway, that was just one of the things she just never really fully understood.
Well, to be kind, she's not bright. She's not a bright woman, not a well-read woman, unfortunately. And this seems to be part of the theme of all these folks, which is weird, And then you got the one guy in Tiger King that's essentially running like a little sex cult. Right, that guy.
Doc Antle.
Yeah, and then you've got the Tiger King himself.
Joe.
You got Joe Exotic, who is also kind of running a strange little sex cult. But, he's just got all this personality, and he's so interesting and fascinating. And if he wasn't in jail, it's really unfortunate, because if he wasn't in jail, he'd be a very popular person.
He hasn't even seen the
show,
which is
amazing.
Can you
imagine? Yeah. If he was
well, he's trying to get Donald Trump to exonerate him, and pardon him. I mean, he was constantly after I had talked about Tiger King.
Sure, yeah.
I get messages from that guy. I don't know how he's giving me messages. I'm assuming it's someone who works for him.
Yeah.
But I get messages all the time. Like you've got to help get him out, put him on your podcast, do this, do that. Like,
well, he also has communication in jail. He gets somehow he's able to get a phone. He's doing video calls and stuff.
Well, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
But
there was a moment. There was a moment when we were filming this kind of like second installment of Tiger King where we covered this pardon, the presidential pardon. There's a real shot where Joe was actually on a list, supposedly, that Trump was going to
hilarious.
It's hilarious.
So I don't remember exactly what the specifics of his accusation. So was he caught trying to hire someone to whack that lady?
Yeah.
He was.
Twice, yeah.
And that lady, is there any truth to this idea that she whacked her husband?
Carole Baskin. There's a lot of circumstantial, I wouldn't say maybe evidence, but it's sort of who else?
It's not clean.
Who else? And it was either, it feels as if it was her or members of her family, and they were the only ones to gain. And so, yeah.
And what a great way to dispose of a body.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how she disposed of the body. It's nice to.
Well, you have meat grinders on the premises, and you have enormous predators.
But
on premises,
I think
and you
but
feed them a tiger.
Don't you think the only thing I would say, Eric, is the circumstances surrounding the change in the will? I mean, who alters it to account for disappearance?
Upon my disappearance.
It's a very, very strange.
No one says that. Yeah.
And isn't there like a disparity in the handwriting as well?
Yeah, we did handwriting experts. We did the entire thing to prove otherwise.
It's also just when she talks about it.
But Joe, back to Joe, Joe Exotic. I was on the phone with him a lot up until he was convicted. From prison, And he just was convinced he was going to be exonerated and, not convicted. And the feds offered him a deal, which was something like 6 or 7 years. You can plea or you can go to court.
He'd probably be out by now.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, he'd be out now. And so he was so convinced that he was going to win, which is so delusional. But yeah, poor Joe would be out right now had he made that deal.
By the way, how crazy is that you could plot to kill somebody? They let you out in 4 years. I know you've been locked up with a bunch of murderers and thieves, but I'm sure you're a better person now.
Yeah. Well, it's plot and then
learned.
intent. Paying someone to go do something.
Right. There's quite a few steps involved.
But yes, Joe's now pro-Trump again. He was pro-Biden when Trump didn't.
Because he was trying to get Biden to pardon him. They wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole, but Trump might.
Yeah.
Especially this time around.
Yeah.
Just for funsies.
Well, let's hope Tanya doesn't go to prison. I don't wish that on Tanya.
No. I haven't seen episode 4, so I don't know. But when you guys were filming, again, spoiler alert, please, if you're watching the series, stop right now and scoot ahead by a few minutes. When they found that Tonka was in the basement, and when I saw when you guys are filming it, I was like, Jesus Christ, this lady is so crazy. She's showing everybody.
I know.
She has.
I know.
With all due respect, she just does not seem like a smart person, and she's almost like if you gave her an IQ test, and then gave a chimp an IQ test, it'd be a toss-up. I think that's part of the problem. I don't think this lady understands the consequences of what she's doing, just like she doesn't understand how crazy her eyelashes look. All of it is just there's some fuses that are missing, some wires that aren't connected, and then because of the fact that at one point in time, at least, it was illegal for her to do what she was doing, and they become accustomed to being able to have, and then their identity revolves around they're the person that has all the monkeys and all the chimpanzees. It was just fucking weird.
Well, it's still legal.
It's
still legal.
I thought they changed it.
No, there's no federal law preventing ownership
Jesus
of chimpanzees.
Christ, you can own a fucking chimp
Correct.
still?
There's 20 or so states legally you can do it.
Oh my God, I thought
Missouri's one of them.
Oh my God.
But background, we spent about 4 years making this documentary series.
First of all, how'd you start? How do you find out about these people?
Go ahead.
And how do you get after Tiger King? How do you get anybody to talk to you on camera?
I've known a lot of animal people, Joe, but I did not know about monkey moms. And along the course of making Tiger King, I started filming some monkey moms, and as you see in Chimp Crazy, you just can't make them up. And so after Tiger King, I just thought, let's scratch the surface. Let's check into these monkey moms again. And so it's these women that dress up their monkeys like dolls, like Joan Benet Ramsey, like a little pageant doll, and they want them to be kids. And they seem to have the same pathology over and over and over. There's a lot of monkey moms out there that we did not film, and they have annually something called a monkey ball, where they all come together with their monkeys. Anyway, we discovered them in the course of making Tiger King, and
my grandmother had a monkey.
Yeah, we hear
my
the story a
grandmother
lot.
had a monkey.
Yeah, we hear the story a lot.
That she kept in the attic.
Really?
Yeah, the monkey's name was Chi-Chi, and Chi-Chi used to eat gum. So you give Chi-Chi a piece of gum, Chi-Chi would unwrap the gum and put the gum in his mouth or her mouth. I don't remember if it was a boy or a girl.
Do you know what kind of monkey?
I do not. I was very small. I was very young at the time, and I remember she had to get rid of it because it bit my cousin.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens.
Yeah. But Chi-Chi couldn't be around anybody other than my grandmother.
Yeah.
My grandmother was very eccentric.
Yeah, and they're territorial, and they're protective of their owner. So when I was young in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you could buy a monkey in virtually any pet store across the United States.
Oh my God!
And thank God people realized, like your grandmother, they're not good pets.
You could buy them in the newspaper.
And they're not good pets.
Well, I think my grandmother, after her kids were grown, she just decided she wanted a kid forever. If I had to guess.
Wow.
Yeah, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
No, that's our kind of consensus on a lot of it. It's,
also a kid that doesn't talk back.
Yeah. It's a great book you'd love. It's by this guy who had a store in New York, Henry Treflick. It's called They Don't Talk Back. and it's these kind of chronicles of his experiences, through the last, it was
This was a
40s
big
or 70s.
exotic animal dealership that existed up until the 70s in New York City. But they had everything: chimps, gorillas, elephants, and they sold stuff to the private sector and zoos. But yeah,
I mean, you could walk into a Woolworth, right, and buy monkeys.
They still, to this day, catch people with large animals in their apartments in New York City.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't there one real recently where a guy had a large reptile?
Venomous snakes, yeah. Right?
Was it snakes?
Is the venomous snake bite, Eric?
Some guy.
remember.
Well, there's one guy. I think it was in Harlem who had a tiger in his house.
Yeah.
And there's a crazy image of the cops going up the fire escape and the tiger's in the window.
Yeah.
And you see the tiger baring its fangs in the window. And you're like, that glass is that fucking thin, man. That is so crazy. This thing is trapped in this like regular apartment with regular glass.
Yeah.
Like at any moment, the only thing keeping that thing out is it doesn't know that it could just smash that and get on that fire escape and just go run through the streets.
Yeah.
It just,
Crazy.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But the bizarre thing is that there's humans that want those. They want those.
Yeah.
I mean,
the tiger thing is more of like kind of a macho thing, I think. If I had to,
what about Carole then? She's a woman.
Yeah, she's kind of an anomaly. It's funny.
But she liked the lesser-known cats,
I
right?
interviewed Tippi Hedren, in the course of doing all of this, and her, Xanadu. It's called Shambhala with all of her cats. And I know you've talked about this about Melanie Griffith growing up with lions.
And that crazy movie Roar.
Yeah. And that movie Roar.
The bed photograph is fantastic.
Oh my God, that movie Roar. But when I interviewed Tippi Hedren, literally on her property in California, she lives with all these tigers and lions. She built a museum for herself. So she's got her own museum, the Tippi Hedren Museum, where I interviewed her. But yeah, there are some women, Tippi Hedren, Carole Baskin, but it's,
mostly a macho thing.
Generally speaking, I think it's more men. Yeah.
Well, I guarantee if you go through the Texas private collections, there's a bunch of good old boys.
Yeah. Exactly.
Believe that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Got some oil money.
You've got canned ranches in Texas.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
There's a lot of canned ranches, which is very odd, and some of them are fairly small, like a couple 100 acres.
Yeah.
And they keep animals there.
Yeah.
It's in my mind, what that is agriculture. Okay, it's just you're doing a different form of deer agriculture. You're not really hunting. Hunting to me is you go into the wild, you go into the woods, and you experience real nature, and it's fascinating. It's enthralling. There's something about. It's also so lonely. There's something about being in those mountains just puts you in check. None of that exists in a canned ranch.
Yeah, canned ranch, you can go shoot, like in South Africa, a lion.
Right.
And the lion was raised in a kind of domestic situation.
And recently released.
Yeah, so it just sits there.
Yeah.
There's no sport in it. Hunting in the United States, for elk or deer, there's a lot of things people don't know about hunting, which is, one, just obviously, obvious statistic is that more wild lands are protected because of hunting. So, you're killing a deer, but you're protecting all the other stuff.